us?
We're ready.
All right. We are the Counseling Center. Having served on this committee before, I just want to say thank you for your hours of reading and work. I know it's an exhaustive process, and so we're delighted to be here to share with you our budget request. Obviously, I think you all know the mission of our center is to facilitate the educational experience and development of students by reducing mental illness and distress, really through enhancing mental health, well-being, quality of life, and optimal human functioning. And we do that, we're guided by our vision of helping students to develop insight, resources, courage that leads to lifelong healthy choices. We do that in hoping to provide a holistic, individualized attention in a welcoming, safe environment characterized by respect, compassion, multicultural competence, and a genuine desire to make a difference.
Over the last 5 years, our institution has grown enrollment by 9%. The student that served by the Counseling Center increased by 30%, and the appointments we provided increased by 45%.
We operate the center really using a four-pillar model, typically called a comprehensive counseling center. We do extensive outreach, we provide consultation services, we do education and training, and then of course what we feel like is the most important thing we deliver is direct clinical services.
With the outreach that's in the last academic year, we were able to do 132 outreach events. 43 of the programmings were initiated by the Counseling Center, 89 by other departments. We reached 5,380 students. We also launched an online program called Therapist Assistance Online and served over 500 first-year track students and additional 162 users. Here's a sample of the annual outreach events that we did. We're especially proud of the Mental Health Matters Day that we invite speakers to help raise awareness of mental health and also suicide prevention.
Consultation services. Today I can just give you a little snapshot. I've consulted with a staff member who needed the support of a therapist for things that they were going through. I have dealt with a faculty member who is dealing with a suicidal student all before 9 o'clock this morning. That's a typical day for us. We obviously regularly consult with faculty and staff regarding the mental health of students. We deal with faculty and staff, as I mentioned, to help them get to a professional to take care of their own personal health needs. Sometimes students come in and consult with us about another student of concern. We occasionally get community members literally walk into the center and ask they're needing mental health help, and we refer them. And then we are the content expert for the behavioral intervention team regarding mental health issues. And we also do, the other pillar is education and training. We really feel like it's our responsibility to help educate the community about mental health, to reduce stigma and to increase help-seeking behavior. We do that in a number of ways. There's no way we can put it all on one slide, but suicide gatekeeper training, both QPR and Campus Connect, classroom presentations so that a faculty member doesn't have to cancel a class on a variety of topics. We're very instrumental in the JED Campus Task Force Initiative, and then Safe Spaces Ally training, and that's just a few.
Here's a snapshot of our direct clinical services. With the funding that we received, we saw close to 600 students. And over the last 5 years, there's a 30% increase with the number of students that we saw, a 45% increase for the total appointment. And the Christ-oriented appointment raised by 147%.
I think the number of appointments means we're seeing students for longer periods of time because of the acuity of their mental health concerns. So that's a direct correlation to that. The changing landscape of mental health on college campuses, really this is 12 years, but really for about the last 2 decades. Certainly the events at Virginia Tech in 2007 with an on-campus shooting, relentless increase in service demand and utilization, elevated numbers of students who come in already contemplating, thinking about suicide, already had a previous attempt, or other serious mental health issues, and higher demand for crisis appointments, and then that all leads to, obviously, staff burnout.
Here's a profile of our client race ethnicity. So the blue bar are the counseling center clients by race and ethnicity, and the red one is university enrollment breakdown. So you can tell that we kind of serve matching the university comparison in terms of in this aspect, with 49% white student and 51% minority students. Risk assessment is a series of important questions that we ask a new client when they first come into our first appointments. So with the 600 students that we saw, close to 50% said that they had thoughts of harming themselves. A quarter of those said they had suicide attempt before. And 33% said that they actually engaged in self-injury behaviors. So we see again the increase of acuity and severity in our clients.
This ties in with everything we've just shared with you. Obviously, the psychiatric services that we provide through our nurse practitioner over the past 5 years, those demand for services have gone up about 233%. So we're seeing this indicates the group of severely ill students who require medication to be able to remain enrolled in the university. Okay, here's the numbers that you all probably need to look for. I want to just tell you that I'm a realist. I served on this committee. I went back last night and poured over all of our numbers again. What I've actually done is cut it because I know what y'all are facing, and I know what it's like to be in that position, to be facing it. I also want to say we have been like living as a family on credit, because we've had the good fortune of having rollover money because of staff issues where we had money that when we didn't have positions filled and other things. And so each year we've been able to ask for less because we had that rollover money that we can make up. The figure that I requested is what it takes to run the counseling center. We can't lose sight of that, but because if we can roll over what we have currently, we can eliminate the request of $25,000 for the psychiatric nurse practitioner. You all do know that we get another amount of money to pay for basically that position, and I was told this year it's being cut in half. And so I added this in because I needed to make sure we had that nurse practitioner. We have a little bit of money in that fund, so I feel like we can afford to not put that in there this year. Next year, that's going to be gone. That won't exist. Also, we can do without the doctoral GA, but the actual salaries reflect not much of a change from last year, because it includes money that was set aside for student workers, which we don't have, and GAs, which is going to be used and has already been approved to be used for a second admin assistant. We're trying to operate a very comprehensive center with not enough administrative staff to handle that. So we've reduced it from $797,378 to $758, which is maybe about $5,000 more than we received last year. That's assuming, and I entrust this to you all, that's assuming that we carry the funds forward that we have in those rollover accounts. I put this up here mainly to say we are moving toward getting our center accredited by IACS, which stipulates one of the ways of getting accredited is you have to be at a certain ratio of counselors to students. If we look at approximately 12,000 students, we need 8 full-time clinicians. Right now, we say we have 8 clinicians, but I'm not a full-time clinician. I'm a part-time clinician, carry about a fourth of a caseload, and then a full-time director. So I just put that out there. And then this is what...
Yeah, here's just a few comments about what our clients said about our center and counselors. But in general, many of them are saying that because of the mental health help that they're able to receive, their academic and schoolwork also increase in performance.
we really do believe that we work with one student at a time to help them be successful as a student. And I can't tell you the number of times I look out my window and point to the field house and say to the student I'm working with, that's the goal right there, to walk across that stage in that building. So that's what we want to help you do. Do you all have questions?
Anybody? Questions? Is that good? Is that good?
Is it no questions because I came in with asking for less money? Did that help? I mean, come on, be real with me.
I think you might be the first.
I was gonna say, I'll line up the others that have done that, and you'll still be standing alone.
Well, my fear is that I've cut it now to bare bones, so, I mean,
We appreciate it.
it is, I understand what it's like to serve on this committee when there's money to go around, and now there's not enough money to go around, so I understand that. And I think I'm gonna change hats. No other questions? Clarifications? Addison, I thought you were gonna throw me a good question. Okay, as you all know, I'm also representing Safe Spaces, which also has a separate line item budget request. Some of y'all may or may not even know about this, but Safe Spaces was created by the Counseling Center, Dr. Robin Reed, in 2011. And we actually drew upon the support of A&M to come up. They provided us their training, their model, and they mentored us to create that. And to date, we've trained almost 400 faculty, staff, and students to be allies for the LGBTQ students and other faculty and staff on our campus. There's our mission, which is to enhance the campus and community climate in order to create a safer, freer, and more welcoming environment for all individuals, regardless of orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. We conduct multiple ally trainings each year. We enhance the diversity and inclusion of LGBT individuals on the campus by sponsoring lectures, speakers, relevant documentaries, and we mentor the Pride Alliance. So Safe Space is largely, the work that we provide is for faculty, staff, and students to serve students versus we are probably less involved with as a student group, which is what SEEDS is highly involved with. I started thinking, how can I possibly tell our story? That's a list, a representation of some of the people that have been on our campus to help us take this journey. Nadine Smith, upper left-hand corner, executive director of Equality Florida. She was thrust into the national and state spotlight after the Pulse nightclub shootings. She had to go on national TV and explain what was going on around that hate crime. Rebecca Kling, right there in the center, was our first speaker we brought to campus. Really wild and crazy person who took us on a journey of understanding what it means to be a transgender person. Robert Camino, we brought 2 of his documentaries and aired them here on the campus. Ray of the Rainbow Lounge, which told the story of what happened in Fort Worth, and literally we saw a police force transform from being very anti-gay, lesbian, and trans to being a support in the community. And then the Upstairs Inferno tells the story of the largest mass murder of gay and lesbian folks in the country, and it's still an unsolved crime. Sheriff Lupe Valdez, former sheriff, she ran for governor most recently, an out lesbian person who was at that time still actively a sheriff of Dallas County. Dr. Greenwald there in the center is a researcher around the whole language we use for the alphabet soup, and hers is GSRM, and so it's a very different take on that. First transgender judge and kind of considered to be the mother of the transgender movement. And then most recently, Cavallari, who did an incredibly great poetry reading. So that's just some of the programming that goes on. There's one of the flyers. And this is our budget request. We're carrying now about $412, I think, is what we have left. So this is what we would be proposing for our budget request for the new year. Any questions?
Do you have speaker ideas already for next year?
We always consult with Pride Alliance, because they have their ear to the ground. We've pretty much covered the ground around transgender. We're really thinking we want a different interest group to be represented, and so we don't have anybody identified specifically. But
Do y'all partner with Pride Alliance for programming funding? Or-
well,
I assume they get select funds.
they typically don't have any money. So like this past year with CAVE, we were able to basically pay for the speaker because they didn't have the funds to do that.
So there's one pot of money, and it's coming from Safe Spaces. There's not a second.
And I don't know much about their budgeting. I know they did not have the funds to get the speaker, and they really wanted CAVE to come here, so
Right.
we were able to partner with them.
But John, partner with other
We
people.
partnered with them. You all provided some good, and we had problems with the speakers last year because of weather and airlines, so. But yes, we definitely partner with other folks. Questions?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all. Appreciate every